All right, today is the day we put the Hemi into the Dodge truck. So these are the mounts from Holly slash Hooker Blackheart, and we're going to put these on the motor. I'm going to put the stock manifolds back on the motor as well, and then we're going to install the new OE rubber style motor mounts onto the frame prior to installing the engine. So I cleaned up the engine bay a little bit. You guys saw me take this rat's nest out. It's kind of a mess over here right now, but I still have to shorten a lot of wires. I'm going to do that later, but all this wiring here, this is all the headlight, turn signal, blower fan, windshield washer, pump, wiper motor, and that's really about it. I think there's another sensor actually over there for the AC as well, but all of that works. Well, all the lights work at least. I hooked a jump box to the battery cables and then went in there and turned on all the lights, so I got to see everything work. I still had, I came back and put some bulbs in just to check. But anyway, so these are the OE style mounts. So I have to unbolt this bracket here on either side, and then there's two studs, obviously one here and then an opposing one on the other side. So to get to the one on the other side, we have to unbolt these plates, unbolt them out, put the new one in. This one looks like it might be fine. It doesn't really, I guess it does move around a little bit. They're like literally $6 or $7 a piece. I'll post a link to the description. Even the ones they recommend are like the Pro Torque ones or something. And I went to AutoZone and I think it was $6.80. So there's really no reason, if you're doing this swap, you shouldn't buy new motor mounts to begin with. You're already going to be in here. If they look questionable, spend the 12 to 15 bucks and get a pair of new ones. The only thing I'm not 100% sure of is if the stock manifolds will give me an issue in terms of exhaust. So I still have these kind of janky, headers, or I guess downpipes. So these bolt to the factory manifolds. They were coming out the side of the Mustang. If I can put the motor in here with the stock manifolds and bolt those pipes to it and get it to go relatively straight down, at least under the frame right there, I'll be fine. We can turn them however we want, and as long as I can get them going straight back, because my plan is I'm going to go down a little ways with the exhaust and then I'm going to turn it, and I'm actually going to have a exhaust bezel here coming out of the side of the bed. There's an awesome guy I found on Instagram that sells these bezels and tips and everything, and they're not even that expensive. So I'm going to hit him up soon, and once I get it, I'm definitely going to share with you guys, his page and all that stuff. But yeah, until then, let's go ahead and get moving forward. I want to do these motor mounts and then install the factory manifolds back on the motor along with the new motor mounts, and then we'll hopefully get this thing lowered in here and installed. There's plenty of room. I'll probably just have to come out here and sweep so the hoist doesn't get hung up on anything. And then yeah, so we'll get this done, and then next will be the bell housing and the transmission, which shouldn't be too hard. Oh, that's another thing I actually have to do, I guess, before we get the motor in. No, I'm not gonna do it. So what my plan is, I was gonna say maybe I'll put the flywheel and the clutch and all that stuff on the motor, but I'm not going to do that because this motor isn't like a lot of other motors, like especially like LS's, where there's an easy place to grab it in the front and back. I could put like a bolt through here through the bell housing, I guess, but it just wasn't that easy to grab from. I used this stud last time, which is actually part of the water pump, but they actually sell a kit which it bolts to this bolt on either side of the head, and the front and the back, and it's like a bracket, and then there's a hook in the center, kind of like the equivalent of like an LS plate that would go into the valley. And I think they actually sell a plate that bolts into the intake as well, you can lift from, but I didn't have either of those, and I didn't plan on buying it because I don't plan on pulling the motor out of this truck more than once. I just plan on pulling it out of the car, putting it in the truck. So I don't know. We might put the flywheel on and the clutch and everything and the bell housing, but if not, I was going to leave this bracket on, and the chain I have on the hoist, it just hooks around this. So I hook it around here, hook it around there. I know that works. I've already done it 2 or 3 times, and then put it in the truck that way. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so these are the Holley motor mounts that go on the motor itself. They will, as I previously said, they will work with your OE rubber style mounts. So that stud will go into these slots. Per the instructions, they said that the longer of the 2 mounts, which is this one here, will go on the passenger side, and the shorter one will go on the driver's side, and both of them have the orientation where the slot will be towards the front of the motor, so essentially like this. And they said in their videos, if you go watch on their YouTube channel, they have a D150 Hemi swap like tutorial kind of. They talk about the motor mounts, they talk about the cross member, they talk a little bit about the exhaust. They said what they did in their design was they actually shifted the motor like an inch or 2 forward. So that gives them extra clearance for multiple transmissions. I think every Hemi or every Mopar transmission that's offered will work on a Gen 3 Hemi in the truck with these motor mounts, which is pretty nice. So they provide the hardware here. I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit of red Loctite on them and just hit them with a couple of Ooga Doogas. Got the motor mounts installed, looking fresh. Both sides, brand new. So I'm gonna head out here now, show you guys, take these plates off so I can swap the old OEM mounts here. So I already loosened that one just to make sure I had the right size. Let's go here. There should be 3 bolts. All right. Let's see here. All the same size, that's what I like to see. All right, so this is the bottom side of that. They have these little mounting, like placement tabs or something. You hear it snap, I guess it goes through the plate. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and unbolt this, take this out, and put the new ones in. And then I'm not going to show you guys that. It's pretty simple. You take these plates off, it's 1 bolt, put the new one on in the same orientation, put it back on. It's not that hard. So when I start this back up, we're going to be putting the motor inside of the truck. I'm so freaking excited. I know it doesn't show it. I'm pretty tired. Little kid is keeping us awake. Long days of work. Irrelevant. I am pretty hyped for this motor to be in this truck. All right, so here we are the next day, and the motor's not in the truck. So after fighting with it for a little while, I realized like there's no way it's gonna fit. And I do remember watching their Holley video and them talking about that their kit was specifically designed to where it moved the motor forward it would clear the factory brake booster. You could actually run some accessories behind the engine. So I pulled it back out, I put it on the stand. It's actually in the garage. And I did some research. And prior to putting this motor in, I had done some research, and I was under the impression that the 3.9 V6 shared its motor mount location with the other motors, and this is partially true. So the 3.9 liter V6 does share the same motor mount location as the 5.9, but it does not share the same location as the 5.2, which is what this kit was based on. So it's not a huge deal, but it potentially can be, like, if you don't know how to fabricate anything or anything like that. And to be honest, I don't really want to fabricate anything, but I'm going to show you what the difference is. So again, this is the factory 3.9 location and the 5.9 location. So on the 5.2, instead of this plate being here where the mount mounts, it actually gets moved directly to the frame on this hole. And they have these little bumps on them, right, for locators. This little bump right here is the locator for this mount. So what I'm going to do is take this bracket back off, you unbolt the mount here, and then you move it to here. Simple enough. The passenger side is really easy. Now the driver side, however, there is a specific motor mount bracket that replaces this one. So it utilizes these same two holes and potentially this hole, but it also uses this hole up here. On the bracket there is a welded like nut, so there's a bolt that runs through this hole, and what it does is it moves this mount out here, so it actually makes it level with this mount but on this side, and it bolts using these back two bolts, that bolt in there. But the problem is that part has been discontinued, so the only way to get one is you have to find one used in a junkyard, or you can maybe make your own. It doesn't seem too hard, to be honest. So what I might do is I might maybe take that plate that I'm taking off the passenger side, turn it around, bolt it there, and then pull this one out and just weld, like cut it and weld to it, and then maybe just make a tab where it comes down and it bolts to there as well. I did, however, look, and there is a 88 Ram 150 at the junkyard up the road from me. I have no idea if it's a 5.2 motor or not. I don't care if the motor's there. In fact, I prefer that someone's already pulled it because it'll make my life a little bit easier. But if it is a 5.2, then I'll just get that bracket and I will use that. But before I use it, what I'd like to do is I'm going to take some measurements, and I'd like to fabricate up some of these brackets. So if any of you guys are doing this swap, the 3.9 V6 is super common in this truck. I think you come across a whole bunch more 3.9s than you do 5.2s. So that way, in the future, if anyone wants to do this swap, and they buy the Holley mounts, which they're actually really nice and they're not too expensive, then I can sell the bracket for like 40 or 50 bucks, and it will just solve this problem for you. All right, so originally I wasn't gonna finish this video, but Johnny here saved the day. There was a truck up the road at the junkyard, had the bracket we needed, had a 5.2 in it. So this is the bracket that came off, and then this bracket here is what came out of that truck. So you can see that it uses the same mounts here, but the bracket, like where this hole is, this is where the motor mount is, it shifts it like 4 inches forward. So we're gonna go ahead and actually get the motor in the truck now. All right, she's finally in. Check it out. Boom. Gen 3 Hemi sitting in the 1990 D150. Pretty exciting. So this manifold over here clears pretty good. You can see there's a good amount of space. I'll be able to get a flange connection on there, bolt it on, and then bend it down. This side, however, is a little trickier. So the flange itself is actually kind of sitting on the frame, and then those two lines right there are actually brake lines. So there's a bolt that has a bracket on it that kind of holds those brake lines down. What I'm going to try and do is unbolt that, see if I can gently bend those up and out of the way, and then I think I'm going to take my plasma cutter and actually cut a little bit around here and notch the frame, because Holley sells some pretty nice mid-length headers for these, but they're $750, and I'm not really trying to spend $750 on a set of mid-length headers. So I can use, you know, some of these exhaust pieces here and make my own exhaust, which is what I want to do, because like I said before, I want to come out of the side of the bed there. So the mid-lengths would be awesome, but $750 I'd rather spend in other places. I've tossed around the idea of painting this truck plum crazy purple, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. Either way, the goal of this video has finally been achieved. We have the motor in the truck, so it's not going anywhere. I already took the bracket off for the engine stand, so now what I'm going to do, once I get that area notched out for there, because I think it's kind of resting on the frame right now, I'm going to go ahead, put the flywheel, the clutch on, the bell housing, and then I can put the transmission in, take the factory cross member out, and put the Holley cross member in. So that'll probably be the next episode. Want to figure out what I'm going to do here with this header and go from there. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.